Welcome to the Easthampton City Council meeting for Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. A reminder that tonight's meeting is being held remotely and via video conference pursuant to Governor Baker's order on March 12th, suspending certain provisions of open meeting laws, allowing local boards and councils to meet virtually. Also, as a reminder, all votes tonight must be roll call votes, including votes to approve minutes and even votes to adjourn the meeting. And with that, I will ask Barbara Bombard to take the roll call, and I am unmuting everyone.
Peg Coniff.
Here.
Salem Derby.
Present.
Omar Gomez.
Here.
Cpa Kaczynski. Okay.
He's muted.
You're muted, JP.
We need to hear you.
Bill Lynch.
Here.
Tom Peake.
Here.
Dan Rist.
Here.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Here.
Owen Zarrett.
Here.
Okay, we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America,
to the
republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 15th?
So move. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor, Barbara, could you take a roll call vote, please?
Peg Coniff.
Yes.
Salem Derby.
Yeah.
Omar Gomez.
Yes.
Cpa Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peake.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild. Aye. Owen Zarrett.
Aye.
Okay, is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak on anything other than what is on the agenda? I don't see anyone except for the police chief. Did you have anything you'd like to say, police chief?
No, ma'am. Thank you, though.
All right. We have communications from elected officials. Anyone have anything?
Just excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry, President. Javier is here, and I don't know if now is the time to talk about the proposal ordinance, because we are not going to deliberate anything about that today. So maybe now is the time for him if you want to say something. I'm sorry, you only said the chief was only here, but we have Javier too.
Right. Would it make more sense for you guys to talk about it as you're introducing it, or, you know,
it's up to you, President.
Javier, do you need to be somewhere?
No.
Okay. I would prefer that we introduce it when the new business comes along, if that's okay. And you're right, we won't be deliberating it, but before we take the motion to move it to the subcommittee, you can introduce it. Any other communications from boards and committees? Councilor Zarrett?
I just wanted to say, as I said a few weeks ago when we first started this process of remote meetings, city council meetings, city committees, et cetera, how impressed I am with the city leadership, from the mayor to our city council president to heads of departments, as well as the ability of our city to really come together and support each other. People supporting businesses, businesses supporting people, our community center giving out food and doing what they do on a daily basis, but on steroids, and people making masks, people wearing masks, and really showing the material that this city is made of, both from the top down, from the buildings that we live in and work in, to the people themselves. It's really impressive to see. It's impressive to see how, as this continues and goes on, that we seem to pull together even more and form even stronger bonds and alliances and allegiances to each other and support each other even more. So thank you to everyone here tonight, my fellow city councilors, our mayor, chief of police, residents. It's really wonderful in these really tough times to see how well we're fighting here. Stay 6 feet apart. wear masks, don't go unless you need to.
Thank you, Councilor Zaret. Councilor Rothschild?
I just wanted to acknowledge that I've received several letters from constituents, which I'm sure the rest of you have too, about the closing of the cannabis industry and, you know, stating the concerns about the hardships it's placing on people who not only work in the cannabis industry, but the funding that the city is losing during this time, and also pointing out that the cannabis industry was probably better prepared to deal with the social distancing and the precautions that need to be in place because they were already doing pickup orders. They're already keeping the limited number of people going in. I'm going to be writing a letter that I'm going to put on the next agenda, that if anybody wants to sign on, to just communicate to the state that I feel, and anyone else that wants to add their signature to it, that this should be re-examined and the cannabis industry should be reopened.
Thank you, Councilor Rothschild. And as luck would have it, we have someone in our city who is very deeply involved in the opening of the state for the future. So that would be a letter that we could certainly copy the mayor on, and perhaps she would be able to render that voice in, say, a committee she might be on at some point.
That would be wonderful.
Just a thought. Anyone else? Councilor Gomez?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say thanks to the police department because for the past few weeks, they're showing respect to the veterans who are being passed away from the Soldiers' Home in Holyoke, and they're resident from Easthampton, or they came to any funeral home to Easthampton. I just want to say thanks to the police department. I think they're doing a great job showing respect to these veterans.
Absolutely. Any other? Oh, hi, Councilor Derby.
Hey, I wanted to actually give Bob some praise as well. You know, with the lockdown, a lot more people are going outside. And I was walking through Nonotuck Park with my wife, and I ran into one of your officers on a bike who was really vigilant and going around and telling large groups of people that weren't wearing masks and weren't socially distancing to, you know, to do their part. And it was, and he was very friendly, and he was very approachable. And I just wanted to, you know, put that out there because, you know, what Councilor Zaret said is absolutely true. You know, we all are pulling together, but I think that at this critical time, you know, we can say that, but it's important that everybody does their part still. You know, if you're on the bike path, you're going to be within 6 feet of people when you pass them. So you should be wearing a mask. And you should also think about doing that pretty much and everywhere you go. Today is the first day of the mandatory mask ban, you know, requirement. And I don't know if people, just anecdotally, what I've seen in the last couple of days, I don't know if people have gotten that message. So Bob, thanks for your officers doing their part to spread the word. But I think it's also true that we need to stay vigilant so we can get out of this. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lynch?
Hi, yes, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we called out the We the People national champions. And they did it in a pandemic with a lot of challenges added on top of it. And it's really commendable what the teacher, the class, the organization, and everybody, all the kids do. So I just wanted to call that out and say congrats. I
agree. And one of the things that, you know, we're going to have on our radar is to certainly celebrate them when we can all be back together. Thank you for bringing that up. I have a couple of people who would like to be admitted, so if you could hang on 1 second, I will admit them.
I'm sorry, that was my job, so you could keep working. I apologize.
No worries. And then we have someone with the interesting name of iPhone that we're going to be admitting, so that's good.
Chairman of Apple.
Yeah, the chairman of Apple. Okay, any other comments from any of the other counselors? Any comments, Dan, from the Vice President?
Other than to echo Councilor Lynch's comments, we have an incredible group of people at the high school that we have somebody who's unmuted.
We need somebody to go on mute. There's a lot of noise.
I'm muting recent entries.
Okay.
Just to say that Kelly Brown and the people that help her there's a feather in the cap of Easthampton to win a national championship. And it's important to note that the 30 states that participated, she made mention that they were the 30 best states. She did not expect to be in, she was hoping for top 10. So this is incredible for our little town, our little city, to do this. They're doing something right at the high school, let me tell you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Also, I just want to make just echoing everything that everybody said, and then because it's my job, I have the very mundane announcement that is pertaining to not much. But I wanted to just point out on this meeting and to all of our people who are watching that except for City Council and City Council committee meetings, we're suspending any non-essential meetings of public meetings in the city until at least May 18th because of some security issues and some things that we just wanted to make sure that if we were meeting, it was for essential business, and that we created some guidelines for all of the chairs, and they should now have those guidelines. And it's just really important that any of us who are creating meetings, hosting meetings, and participating in meetings, please remember that this is still a public forum, and look and behave as you would if we were in a city council chambers. And I just wanted to point that out for the reason, because it's out there that some meetings have been canceled. I just wanted to explain why. Anything else? Okay. Mayor Communications, Mayor LaChapelle. I gotcha.
There we go. Thank you. Takes a team. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'll just start with a couple of comments. One, thank you, President Conniff, and also City Planner Jeff Bagg, for putting those guidelines together for having online public meetings. I think it's in whatever a new normal is, or wherever we are, it's extremely important that the public has a fair and as unfettered access to public information from their government as possible. And that can only happen in a structure. And the structures that were employed and hopefully will be employed again in City Council chambers and our meeting rooms in City Hall have now pivoted. And they're online and they're on the telephone, and we want to make sure that everyone has proper guidance and practice for Councilor Rist and the rehearsals before we start up in full. The conversations that aren't being had on those committees that aren't urgent are still vitally important to our participatory democracy. We want to make sure that they go forward as smooth as possible. And again, President Conniff and City Planner Jeff Bagg just did a really great job kind of rounding up all that information. And I know Barbara, our city clerk, gave a little bit of guidance, as well as the team at Easthampton Media. So thank you for that. A lot of gratitude that I'd like to express, and a big thank you to frontline workers. It's starting, of course, with our fire department and our police, but also the guys and gals at our grocery stores, at Pride, at Cumberland Farms, places where people never imagined that they would be on the front line of a pandemic, and they're still coming to work. And certainly, if nothing else, making my life easier because I can get food at Big E's still. So thank you very much, and know that your city appreciates the risks you're taking, and hoping you're taking every possible precaution. Also, gratitude to the folks of Easthampton, the number of volunteers who are giving rides, who are making cloth coverings, who are helping others that no one knows about. It's just your neighbor or somebody who's really struggling to get from point A to point B, or is in an unknown place, or needs to pick something up. Thank you all for, opening your eyes and showing compassion and gratitude to those around you. There have been countless stories on social media and notes and calls to my office, and I'm sure everyone else on this meeting could share a couple of wonderful examples. I am grateful, and it's I think it is an easy trap or fallback position for me to be glib or sarcastic. But I say what I just said, but also what I'm about to say with dear seriousness, and as as executive as I can. I am most grateful, truly grateful, for people who stay home. It's the one way this doesn't spread. It's one way that we can flatten the curve. It's the one way we all know we haven't given somebody's grandmother or baby or your mailman COVID-19. Stay home. And I am so grateful for those who do. Thank you very, very much. Moving on to that. So I also, with the mandates, and there's been a lot of back and forth with mandates and what you can do and what you can't do and who will enforce it. I strongly believe that the mandates that we're looking at now with face coverings around how grocery stores have to be set up, all of the orders that are posted on easthampton.gov and also mass.gov, sure, if push comes to shove, there is a fine that can be given. There is enforcement by our health agent, and there is enforcement by the police or the fire. It shouldn't get to that. While this pandemic is scary as all get up, and we have not faced this challenge in modern times, we have dramatically changed the behavior of our society without mass arrest. Remember littering and how you got a ticket for littering and there was a big push? People litter less. Remember not smoking inside? Remember not smoking outside of doors? There were no mass arrests. People just stopped doing it. Did they like it? No. Most people, I liked it. I like the smoking thing. But we've changed our societal behaviors before for the better to combat diseases, and we can do that again. That's what covering your face is about. That's what staying 6 feet up from people is about. That's how we reopen our local economy. We're just changing our behaviors to the betterment of everyone. And I thank you in advance for being a part of helping that change. Also, and I think Chief Alberti is still on here, we do have the Board of Health voted today, I think, Chief Alberti, and authorized the police to be health agents. Are you still on the call to speak to the specifics of that?
Yep, I'm here. I'll first start off by saying thank you to Councilor Durbin and Councilor Gomez for your kind words. Obviously, as you well know, and you can imagine, we're working very hard right now during this pandemic. So we appreciate the kind words from the council. The city Board of Health late yesterday voted to basically appoint all of the police department personnel as agents of the Board of Health, which allows us to enforce some of these, actually all of the Board of Health violations and the governor's orders. So if we had a call for a violation prior to them voting us in, we would have to call the Board of Health or call Bree, our health agent, have her come down, and then she would issue fines. So now we're in a position where for every one of these calls, we can handle them on our own, and it's a 2-day reporting. So I've assigned Kyle Gribby, one of my sergeants, as the liaison officer to the Board of Health. So every 2 days, we'll be reporting back to the Board of Health any and all activity as it refers to violations. Obviously, our plan is education and warning, and that's we're going out in front of this as educators to educate the public, to encourage them to abide by all the rules and regulations and not be violators, and warn them initially, but after the warning, they could be subject to fines, and then to some degree, there could be some criminal implications if they don't adhere to the governor's orders and the Board of Health regulations.
Great, thank you, Chief. And also, Chief, just while we're on this topic, this Saturday and Sunday, like last weekend, we'll have some officers on the bike path distributing masks.
Yes, so to Councilor Derby's point earlier, we have Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have officers on walking beat / bicycle patrol, engaging in the public and the safety naturally, and offering masks to those that don't have them and encouraging them to wear masks. So if anybody has any masks that they're making, we're happy to accept them at the public safety complex, and we distribute them back out to the community.
Thank you, Chief. Likewise, we've gotten a lot of donations of handmade face coverings. Very appreciative. If you would like a face mask, you can email health@easthamptonma.gov or call the health department and give your name and the address, and the Council on Aging as well as Easthampton neighbors are delivering the masks to folks. Right now we have a little bit of a backlog, but we would rather know who needs one and wants one, and we'll as soon as the masks come in, we'll get one out to you. And, you know, just another great example of what our health department is doing in the face of just a lot of unknown. That said, what I would like to do next, Madam President, is at this point last year. Oh.
Councilor Rist, did you have something you wanted to say?
I believe we should open the public hearing since it's well past time, and if the mayor's going to do the budget, that'll take some time. So I'm requesting that we do that. Is that all right with you, Madam President? Then I'll make a motion to open the public hearings.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to open the public hearings. Any further discussion? Could I have a roll call vote?
Peg Coniff?
Yes.
Salem Derby?
Yeah.
Omar Gomez?
Aye.
JP Kaczynski?
Aye.
Bill Lynch?
Yes.
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Dan Rist?
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild?
Aye.
Owen Zarrett?
Aye.
Okay, public hearings are now open. Councilor Rist, would you like to take over?
Yes, we have a number of supplemental appropriations, all of which were approved by the Finance Committee 3-0. I'll say that at the top. We have one that was approved a while ago for $35,223. It's to cover our Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance liability, to provide for employee share of health insurance not paid by employees in January due to the 1-week premium holiday. If you recall, the administration in negotiations and collective bargaining gave our unionized employees a premium holiday, and this is to cover it. It is necessary, obviously, because of the collective bargaining part of it. I have nothing else to say except that we did approve it. I don't know if the mayor or the auditor wants to say anything to this. No? Okay. Any public? I guess I'll do that. Any public that wants to say anything to the holiday? We have a couple of people.
Public, just real quick, Councilor Rist. For anyone from the public who would like to make any comments during the public hearing, please go ahead and unmute yourself, and we would ask that you identify yourself by name and your residence. If you do not want to say anything, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to unmute yourself. Okay.
Hearing no other discussion or questions, then I'll make a motion if that's okay with the president.
Go.
I move that the full council approve the following appropriation. The amount requested is $35,223 from the excess overlay released by Assessor's account, $35,223, to the Blue Cross Blue Shield Health Insurance Liability account, $35,223, to provide for employee share of health insurance not paid by employees in January due to 1 week premium holiday provided by the city per the Easthampton Education Association Support Unit Agreements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the supplemental appropriation of the 32B insurance liability. Any further discussion? All right, Barbara, I'll take a roll call vote, please.
Ed Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
We have unanimous approval of the appropriation for the 32B insurance liability. Motion passes.
The next item is a supplemental appropriation for $15,000 to cover the mayor's anticipated legal expenses. Although there is funds left in the budget that we approved, the mayor is concerned that she may run out due to the fact that she needs extensive legal services, especially for the Union Street project, which requires some taking of property, you know, the storefront areas and everything. We need to do that. If everybody understands that, there's property, the properties need to be purchased and taken by the city in order for that Union Street project to go forward, and that requires legal services. I'll let the mayor explain this further, but it is a 3-0 vote by the Finance Committee. Mayor, if you want to explain.
Yes. So, I mean, there were expenses around charter review. There were expenses around negotiation and our mediation with the different collective bargaining units that were more than expected. The Union Street Transportation Improvement Project is very involved with a series of easements. Because one of the big improvements are the sidewalks will now go level into each business rather than a step up, making them more accessible. So there's just a lot of easement work around that, and then around the Railroad Street. Since I first asked for this, and even since the Finance Committee happened, this money, the legal money and the support for this project is even more urgent. As we are starting to look at reopening or what our future looks like in Easthampton, it is clearly shovel ready and at projects that are still on time that will be funded fully with proper advocacy. So we really want this in the pipeline ready to go. It's a huge project. We have done a very good job staying online. And we want all of those easements taken care of as soon as possible so we can just focus on design and public input.
Anybody from the public would like to say anything? Any councilors?
No, the only comment I will make is that I appreciate the information that we received from the mayor and the mayor's office regarding the year-to-date expenditures, as well as the fiscal year-to-date expenditures by the legal services. It was very interesting and probably involves a broader discussion around when we get into the budget. It's very interesting. I know that this year has been extremely active in terms of things that you are teeing up, that the planning that Jeff Bagg is teeing up that do require a lot of legal interface, not to mention what's going on with the pandemic. So I just appreciate all the information that we got in such a timely fashion. It was very helpful, so thank you.
I echo that. Thank you very much, Mayor, for providing that information to the Finance Committee. If anybody needs it, it is available. I'm sure the mayor will send it out to anyone who needs it. Yes. Anybody else? Madam President, I'll do a motion if it's all right with you.
Yes, please.
I move that the full council approve a supplemental appropriation of $15,000 to be transferred from the free cash account to be transferred to the city legal account, $15,000. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: supplemental city legal through the rest of the fiscal year.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, for supplemental appropriation for the city legal fund. Any further discussion on this? Councilor Zaret?
So do we anticipate this is it? We don't expect to have to make any more appropriations for legal for the rest of the year?
I do. The mayor indicated that this should cover it. There is funds left in the budget. It's not like the budget is expended. She is just making sure that we have enough. And of course, if we don't spend it, it becomes money that is turned into free cash at the in the fall. So she feels she's safe. That's what she said at the Finance Committee meeting.
Yes.
Any other comments? Okay, Barbara, I will take a roll call vote, please.
Meg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Ian Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
We have unanimous roll call voting for this. Motion passes.
The next supplemental appropriation is for $15,000. It's a typical end of fiscal year catch up from the personnel department. Mr. Dickinson has requested it to cover the workman's comp account, which will fall short. And it's typical that we do these next two items will cover shortfalls in insurance. It was approved 3-0. I don't know if the mayor or Val want to say anything to it, but it's a typical thing. Anybody have any questions, public, councilors?
Seeing none?
Madam President, I'll do a motion.
Okay.
I move that the full council approve a supplemental appropriation. The amount requested is $15,000 to be requested from free cash, $15,000 to be assigned to the Workman's Comp 111F account, $15,000 to provide funds for the rest of the fiscal year 2020 for 111F costs and costs that may arise due to COVID-19 virus.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, on a supplemental appropriation to move $15,000 from free cash to Workers' Comp 111F account. Any further discussion? Councilor Gomez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a question. It's about how much is in the, what is the balance of the account of free cash after these appropriations?
I'll have to ask Val. I don't have that number in front of me. I thought Val's on. There you are, Val.
Yeah. If all of these items are voted, there'll be $121,602.60 left.
Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I will take a roll call vote. Barbara?
Meg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Ian Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously via roll call vote. Next, Dan?
Yes, I have a supplemental appropriation, again, to cover fiscal year, end of fiscal year needs in the Medicare area. As Valerie explained, this is always difficult to budget due to employment flexibilities and changes. It's very hard to anticipate what our Medicare responsibilities will be at the beginning of the year. So I believe that this is common. We've done this almost every year that I can recall. We've had to catch up on insurances and Medicare, et cetera. Valerie is here if you have any questions. I don't see any in public, anything. Okay, Madam President, I guess I'll do a motion. correct?
Yep.
I move that the full council approve a supplemental appropriation of $30,000 to be appropriated from the free cash account, $30,000, to the school Medicare tax, $15,000, and to the city Medicare tax, $15,000, for a total of $30,000, to provide funds for the rest of the fiscal year 2020 for Medicare taxes due to collective bargaining agreements for police, fire, DPW, school pay increases, and general shortfall in Medicare tax budget line items.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, on a supplemental appropriation to move $30,000 from free cash to school Medicare $15,000 and city Medicare tax $15,000. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Barbara, I'll take a roll call vote.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Yes.
Owen Zarrett.
Aye.
Again, we have a unanimous approval of that motion. Motion passes.
I move that the public hearings be closed.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public hearings. Any discussion? Barbara?
Peg Coniff.
Yes.
Salem Derby.
Yes.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Public hearings are now closed. Mayor, let's go back to you and finish up Mayor Communications.
Thank you. Oh, I gotta find my notes. Okay. I just want to make a quick statement around the Economic Reopening Advisory Board that I was appointed to by Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito. I'm happy to take questions, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow at 10 a.m. on my virtual town hall. But the quick take is the report, which will be produced on May 18th, is not necessarily a green light to just restart up, but a phased approach over time that is governed less by a date on a calendar and more by health metrics of how we're doing in fighting the pandemic. So I hope to, be able to discuss on a virtual town hall and in this setting, if it so pleases the council, the report itself when it comes out on after the 18th. I'm happy to take a question. It is an honor and a privilege to be doing this work, and I still am a little stunned that I am one of 17 people doing this work and working across other parts of government and research and industry and small businesses to put together a phased reopening plan for the Commonwealth. If nothing else, the experience so far, I love my cliches, it's, saying something like, it ain't going to be pretty. The pivot I have made, and I would encourage others to make us much more hopeful and find beauty in everything you look at. And there will be some beauty coming at us. It'll be very hard to find, but we're putting a plan together so everybody has a little more of that. That said, Mayor,
a couple of people have questions. Councilor Zarrett?
Yeah.
It's not, well, first of all, Mayor, congratulations, well-deserved, and I'm glad that certainly our city as well as our region is represented in this task force. And apropos of that, one request or plea I would make is that I think, there's certainly a lot of differences regionally, whether you look at county by county or city by city in regards to cases or case load, so to speak, when you start looking at the healthcare industry, but also generally in terms of how COVID-19 is affecting communities. You certainly can't say that Easthampton is hit worse from this pandemic than, say, Boston. And so I would hope that the group would consider a regional approach in regards to economy, and look at metrics either on a town by town or county by county or region by region basis in regards to policy. That's all.
That is one approach that we're taking a serious look at for the reasons you just listed off. Yep.
I saw another hand. I don't know if it was Councillor Kwasinski.
I just wanted to say, I think I speak for everyone on the council, and I think for the citizens of our city, Mayor, that I think we're very pleased and proud to have you be representing us at that table. So I just wanted to say kudos to you. I think the governor and the lieutenant governor made a good selection. I know you pay attention to what is said by the health officials as well as our business representatives. So I think there'll be some good discussion at the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, Mayor, go ahead.
In your inboxes, it was just emailed out as well to the leadership team and school committee is my proposed fiscal 2021 balanced budget for your consideration. I'd like to make just 4 points and then read my mayor's message to the council. First of all, I want to underscore that it is typical and something we do every fiscal year. When we create our budget, we use and we start with the governor's first swipe at the budget. So that when he's coming out with his budget in January, that is what we start with as far as as far as state receipts. So that's not new. As you can imagine, we expect some variation, but we always start with that number. It's just the one we have, and we cannot wait until the end of the year when the state budget is passed and talk about the actual amount of money we get. Two, the budget I am presenting tonight is for a full fiscal year. Given the unknown in our economy and just state of affairs in general, with your direction on the information you'd like to see, but also our auditor and treasurer will be putting together a robust report every month. It'll be a little more than what you get already as far as what we have spent, what has come in, what MEMA money has come in, FEMA money, and whatnot. So you understand and the public understands month by month where our cash flow is, but also what we're spending, what we're waiting on. There are a lot of moving parts, and it's much easier to follow it month by month. That said, if you were to receive that monthly report and you receive it every month, like at the first city council meeting, or a report that's dated the first of every month, that does not encapsulate or capture all the financial activity of the whole month before. Very similar to our house finances, bills come in after the end of the month for services rendered in the month before. A check or reimbursement comes in after the end of one month and shows up in the next month's report, correcting the first month. So I just want to put that strong caveat out there. So when you get a report, remember that money, how we receive and how we spend money isn't necessarily by months on the calendar. And also the come fall 2020, and we look at the budget, of course, every month, but I would like in advance, President Conniff would ask for a very specific or an extra time at Mayor Communications to go over the budget in the fall. and see where we are. When we get some understanding of local receipts and state aid, I won't say much more than the fall. Would it make a lot of sense to take into consideration the setting of our tax rate, free cash certification, and also what happens with the state budget? And as you go through this budget, you're going to see that obviously what we expect to get in the door is less. Our auditor looked back in time and to 08 and 09 for some kind of benchmark for lower receipts and how we might look on then the expense side budget, and we work backwards from there to get to the budget that was presented or sitting in your inbox now. My last comment there would be when you're looking at the money in the budget, please remember that reimbursement from any outside source for expenses around COVID-19, those aren't expected or put into a budget. So right now, we are not spending a deficit in any account. The idea is hopefully not have to do that going into 2021. But in the budget, you're not going to see a number that is supported by expected reimbursement. The money you see is the money that we feel very sure that we will get. Some of the amounts will vary. They vary every year, and this year will be a little more severe. That said, I'd like to go forward just with my letter and my mayor communication.
Yes.
Dear President, is there a question, Madam President?
No, there isn't.
Okay. Dear President Conniff and members of the City Council, in my January State of the City address, I spoke of utility, noting the nuts and bolts of economic development and the significant steps we have made together. We entered the start of this year in the strongest fiscal position this city has ever seen. Our bond rating rose to a historical high of AA+. Economic development has been a bright spot in our work over the last 2 years and at a pace that exceeded even my hopeful expectations. I was proud to secure millions in grant money for Easthampton, and we're seeing those investments come into fruition now. In 2019, I committed to building fiscal infrastructure poised to withstand economic ebbs and flows. And at the start of this year, our outlook was defined not merely by growth, but by locally based smart growth to improve the quality of life for all of our residents. When we began our budget process for fiscal year 2021, COVID-19 was a distant threat. The reality we face today is a far cry from where we began, and will set the stage for difficult decisions ahead. The generational investments and long-term plans we have discussed are still the centerpiece of our budget plans. But like all municipalities in Massachusetts, we face uncertainty. Knowing that new growth might not be seen in 2021 or even 2022, my January 2020 budget letter to department heads directed them to design a level funded budget. By late February, each department head produced a budget that outlined the delivery of core services while meeting the spirit of my directive. The budget before you today reflects our collective commitment to the future, balanced against the reality of an ever-changing revenue forecast in a post-coronavirus economy. The presented fiscal year 2021 expenditures of $47,398,937 are balanced by 4 major revenue sources. State receipts, net of assessments of $8,607,116. Local receipts of $3,652,974. Other sources and enterprise total of $5,040,740. An estimated tax levy of $30,098,199. Of that tax levy, $5,635,650 is excluded debt service approved by the voters to fund Easthampton High School and the Maple School pre-K to 8 construction. This fiscal year 2021 operating budget represents a 1.08% increase over the fiscal year 2020 budget. Based on the governor's January fiscal year 2021 budget numbers, Easthampton's net state aid decreased 3.14% from fiscal year 2020. School choice and charter sending tuition increased by 6.5%, which was down from an 8.35% increase in 2020. In Easthampton, we are recognized for our strong fiscal policies and efficient services, and the signal of strength translated to a more smart growth dollars. We were awarded an additional $391,000 for the One Ferry Street project. We helped secure $15 million in new market tax credit for a new development, which aligned with a MassWorks grant secured for traffic mitigation in the same area. The new development will bring a grocery store and over 70 union jobs to Easthampton. These are decisions that support and secure our AA+ rating from Standard & Poor's. In keeping with my promise to help alleviate tax rates, they've created and you've approved and funded a tax relief stabilization fund and established a cannabis stabilization fund for revenue gleaned from host community agreements. These funds reduce the amount of taxes we must raise on our levy. The city stabilization funds and other post-employment benefits have been funded in accordance with our strong existing policies. Though matching grants and realignment of dollars, I have added 4 firefighter positions, a part-time food inspector, and a second full-time assistant planner. The federal SAFER grant gave us the ability to increase our fire department shifts to reduce overtime expense. The addition of a part-time food inspector allows for the health department to keep current on all food-related inspections, plus allows more structural inspection and desperately needed public health outreach. A second assistant planner builds out our capacity to act on housing, open space, and economic development projects by monitoring existing grants and pursuing new grants, especially any energy efficient dollars. With ongoing public infrastructure projects and more to come, an additional assistant city planner builds a tighter connection between planning and the Department of Public Works. Despite the anticipated widespread budget challenges, our city's vision remains unchanged. Department heads have given their commitment to join me as we prioritize spending ahead. I've requested that we hold on to certain expenditures, looking to better match revenue to expense on a monthly basis. All non-essential expenditures and hiring are on hold through the summer. Recognizing the uncertainty ahead, my office, together with the auditor and treasurer, will deliver a monthly report outlining year-to-date expenditure and revenue with a narrative of the city's fiscal health. I will work proactively over the coming year with city departments and the city council to hone our budget, which upholds collective values. You have my commitment to continued transparency and accountability for the climb before us. We are in this together. With gratitude, Mayor Nicole LaChapelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam President, I move that the city's budget as presented by the mayor be sent to the Finance Committee for review.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move the fiscal year 2021 budget to the Finance Committee. Any further discussion? Councilor Lynch?
Yes. I would just like to see if we could request, usually in the budgets, we compare to previous years, 18 and 19's actual spends in a lot of these areas, because that's how we truly can build a budget. And then the other side of it, you mentioned that we use 2008 and 2009's kind of structure as a platform to build up there. Anything like that we can use to help kind of look at employee compliments and things like that within the departments from 2008 or 2009 that can help outline some of the questions that I probably would have to ask.
Sure. Yeah, certainly we can get a historical budget from 08 and 09. I'm sure it's around somewhere. And then as far as the comparisons, we have some comparison. I mean, sure, I'm not saying no, but I'm thinking if you have last year's budget and we gave final year-to-dates as the close, you would have that history. I tried to keep the document compressed, just given the remote, you know, one, I had no plan in printing budgets, but also did have a plan to have it on big screens and make it a little more easier to read. But we can work through that, Councilor Lynch, to make sure you get what you need for those hearings, of course.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I noticed that Jen Gallant, the city treasurer, had her hand up. Jen, did you have something you want to say?
Yep. I just wanted to mention that in the files that were emailed, there are actuals for 2019 and the budgeted figure for 2020, only because we haven't finished 2020 yet. And really to annualize numbers right now with all that's going on didn't make a lot of sense to me. So there is comparison for the 2019 totals, total actuals, 2020 budget. There's a requested budget amount that came from the departments, and then a final recommended amount for from the mayor. So if you would like more comparison than that, I can gladly, you know, put more in, but I just went with what was done last year. So
yeah, the previous year had 2-year actuals, the previous year's budget, and then went into requested, and so there was like 5 columns, and it just kind of showed the trends. Mm-hmm. Which really made it easier for us to, you know, make sure that we were in the right mode.
Right. The raw data that I got from the departments, the template that I used does have 2018 actuals, 2019 actuals, and then 2020 budget. So I can you know, print those or send them to you in advance of each budget hearing if that helps too.
I also want to thank you, Jen. I want to make just a comment here that none of us have really seen the budget yet, and the motion is to move this to the Finance Committee. It's not to talk about the budget right now. So I would appreciate if you have comments, take a look at the budget, and then we can follow up with questions, because I think we could be here all night if we started to talk about anything related to the budget. So my preference is let's keep the comment to the motion on the table, and then anything later we can once we take a look at it, we can make our suggestions. Councilor Kwasinski? Oh.
You're muted, JP.
Mr. President, I wanted to be able to echo Councilor Lynch's comments. I would appreciate the additional information, please.
Absolutely. Okay, any other comments? Okay, Barbara, we'll take a roll call vote.
Sure. Peg Coniff?
Yes.
Salem Derby?
Yes.
Omar Gomez?
Aye.
JP Kaczynski?
Yes.
Bill Lynch?
Yes.
Tom Peak?
Aye.
Dan Rist?
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild?
Aye.
Owen Zaret?
Aye.
Motion was unanimously approved. Motion passes to move this to the Finance Committee. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate all of the the good work that you're doing and the work that has gone into the budget. I know it's been a challenge and it will continue to be. So I appreciate getting it to us, and we will take a look at it starting next week.
Yeah, I can't say enough about the team at 50 Payson from, really all of the departments for putting this together and putting it into our established template remotely. Yeah. And doing a lot of formatting and reformatting and changing of numbers and honestly not having a whole bunch of time to talk through it. It was all emails. It's pretty astonishing. I'm extremely proud of the 50 Payson team. They just really hit it out of the park.
It's great. It's great. All right, we'll move on to reports of standing committees. Councilor Rist, Finance.
Councilor Gomez had his hand up prior to this.
Councilor Gomez.
Thank you, Madam President. Before the mayor leave, I don't know if she's going to stay the whole meeting, but I have a question for her. Can you please give us an update what or how is working everything at the City Hall? Because for the past few weeks, we're receiving some emails related to building permits and that kind of stuff. And maybe it's a good idea to refresh our heads what is working or how is working each office in our city.
Yeah. Yes, of course. So City Hall is still closed to the public, and we've redone the entry system with fobs. There is a staggered schedule where people are assigned times they can go into the building to do the things that they cannot do remotely. And we limit the number of people to 3 a floor. There are some people who go in at nights, some people go on the weekends, just so we have fewer people in the building. We were a couple of, before May 4th, I had frozen all building permits and construction in Easthampton due to some serious concerns and really just an inability to mitigate COVID-19 spread on construction sites. Since then, we have worked with the general contractors as well as the labor unions and smaller contractors to put together 2 things. One, for bigger construction projects, you need to do a very comprehensive safety plan of how you will manage the project, and it being safety focused. And this that plan goes across a lot of domains, including OSHA and CDC and our local orders. For smaller projects, say like a remodel of a kitchen or addition of a deck, there is a statement of assurances, a checklist that the person doing the smaller plan must sign off on. You can find them in the building inspector's website. Our building inspector now is working on the backlog of permits that were submitted when we weren't approving and going forward. So we are approving permits as they come in. The guidance that President Conniff and City Planner Bagg worked on will allow a smooth rollout of planning boards, ZBA, and a couple other boards who have some things in the hopper, and then we'll get all of the committees back up in running. So that's normal. The Dropbox is being emptied. It's delightful, but I apologize for the frustration of people who went to the Dropbox in the last week or so, and it was stuffed full. So we've had to add an additional emptying of the Dropbox to get the checks and to process. And then Carol Vito, our collector, and Lori and her department come in and make sure that everything is deposited. We're bringing checks ourselves to the bank because the delivery service is not, the pickup service isn't available right now. But we are, and we have also just started to talk remotely with folks who are considering doing a project in Easthampton through the planning department, and almost like a virtual business roundtable. So we don't want to miss, potential growth.
Anything else for the mayor? Okay. We'll do now standing committees. Dan Rist, Finance.
Thank you, President Coniff. First of all, the Finance Committee will meet next week on the 11th and the 14th for primarily budget review. On May 11th, we will also take up the $140,000 appropriation and the $3,000 appropriation, which I'm about to send to Finance Committee. And on May 11th, we will be doing Public Works, Enterprise, and Culture and Recreation. On May 14th, we will deal with the $42,000 appropriation and the $200 appropriation from the clerk. And we will be dealing with public safety, human services, and unclassified insurances as that night's budget. So I invite all the councilors to attend. It's the best time to ask questions of the budget rather than this big meeting. I would also like to make a motion to extend the CPA exemption item that's on our agenda for 90 days. That's a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second to extend. Which one was that, Councilor Rist?
The one for the CPA exemption, MGL.
CPA exemption. All right, motion and a second to accept the MGL Chapter 44B CPA exemption discussion item. Any further conversation? Barbara, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
David Kaczynski.
Yes.
Bill Lynch. Tom Peak.
Yes.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
I would also like to read our new business, and at the end I will move them to committee and move them to public hearings. First, we have an interdepartment transfer for an appropriation of $3,000 to be transferred from the reserve fund to be transferred to central purchasing postage, $3,000, to provide funds for the rest of the fiscal year 2020 for postage costs that have increased due to mailings of paychecks in items normally distributed in City Hall due to COVID-19. The next item is an interdepartmental transfer of $200 to be transferred from the reserve fund, $200 to be transferred to the City Council advertising budget, $200 to provide funds for the rest of the fiscal year 2020 for the City Council legal advertising budget. The next item is interdepartment transfer of $42,000 to be transferred from reserve to be transferred to the full-time dispatch salary, $22,674, part-time dispatch salary, $9,992, dispatch holiday salary, $8,033, and dispatch overtime, $1,301, to provide funds for the rest of the fiscal year 2020 for dispatch salaries due to budget shortfall. And the last item is a supplemental appropriation. The amount requested is $140,000 to be transferred from the enterprise retained earnings account, $140,000 to be transferred to the wastewater treatment plant Connecticut outfall root cutting budget, $140,000 to remove roots growing in the outfall pipe before it can be repaired. I move that these items be sent to the Finance Committee for review.
Second.
Motion is second to move 3 interdepartmental transfer requests and a supplemental appropriation to the Finance Committee. Any further discussion? Barbara, roll call vote, please.
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
David Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
I further move that the 4
Excuse me, Dan. Pardon me.
Sure.
Motion passes. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I further move that the 4 aforementioned items be set for public hearing on May 20th for the City Council. We need a second.
Second.
Motion is second to set a public hearing for the interdepartmental transfers. Is that also for the supplemental appropriation, Dan?
All of them, please.
Okay, to May 20th. Any further discussion? Barbara?
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Dylan Derby,
Aye.
Omar Gomez,
Aye.
David Kaczynski,
Aye.
Bill Lynch,
Yes.
Tom Peak,
Aye.
okay. Dan Rist,
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild,
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
Motion passes to set a public hearing.
Madam President, that concludes finance.
Councilor Rist, do you want to run down the list of budget meetings that will be coming up?
Well, I did the first two, and I'll do the next two.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, you're right. May 19th is education, debt, and interest. And currently, May 21st is revenue, general government. But there is a conflict, and I will be asking the Finance Committee to move that meeting, and I'll do that at the first Finance meeting on the 11th. That is in conflict with the CPA meeting, and I can't be in two places at once, so I have to discuss that with the committee and the mayor and everybody. Anyway, the last one is revenue, general government, and CPA. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Rist. Councilor Gomez, public safety.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I want to start with the letter about South and Main Street. The letter is done. I'm pretty sure Barbara is going to send a package for us to sign it probably tonight or tomorrow. And that package is going to be the letter. Please sign it. As soon as we have it, all the signatures for all the councils, we're going to send it to the OT. But the letter is ready, and we're ready to move on. The other items that we have the agenda with this new situation that we have in the past, we were planning to do a site visit. So with the restriction that we have now, each councilors are going out and taking some pictures or taking some data, and going to bring it to the next meeting or the future meetings, so that way we can start discussing about the parking, on-street parking, the pedestrian safety review, and the speeding concerns. So we still have them in the agenda because we're going to keep working on it. Beside that, we schedule a meeting for the May 13th. It's going to be next week at 6:30. It's going to be obviously through the computer. And I don't have anything else. The only thing that I have is a new business that we want to move to public safety if Madam President let us move it to the public safety. Is a new ordinance is to ban on recognition surveillance technology. Before making a motion to move it to public safety, with the permission of the president of the council, I want to let Javier to explain why we need this in our city.
And just before you start, Javier, is there a reason, Councilor Gomez, we're not moving this to ordinance?
It's yes and no. First, the first time that we start talking, we plan to move it to ordinance, but because it's related to safety, maybe it's a good idea to move it to public safety.
Okay.
And I have that conversation.
Go ahead, sir. No, go ahead.
I had that conversation with Councilor Peak, and yesterday in our meeting with at the public safety, I was talking to the chairman of the ordinance. By the way, he is part of the public safety committee. So that's why the suggestion is to move it to public safety.
Okay, Councilor Peak, I saw your hand up as well.
Yes, when we were working on this, I discussed this with Councilor Gomez. There's a couple things. First of all, while this ordinance would certainly apply to all of the city, the most popular use of this technology that we're aware of has been with police departments in other places. And if at some point there were to be sort of some steps set up in order to actually frame some guidelines about how they would be used, probably the most likely department that it would come through is the police. Second, as you'll remember, we sort of worked at the end of last term to redefine the scopes of the various committees. And so while this is an ordinance, we felt it fell pretty solidly within the purview of public safety as for our rules. And third, when we just looked at workflows, it seemed like in order for it to get quickly this sort of attention that we believed it deserved, public safety seemed like the best candidate. You're muted. President.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say both of you would make good lawyers, I'm convinced. Councilor Gomez, if you would like to introduce Javier, and he can speak to what you are presenting tonight.
Yes, I just want to let Javier Luengo to explain why we need this in our city. He worked with the ACLU, and we've been working for a few weeks, probably a month or a little bit more, with the proposal. And we're going back and forward with the language between me, him, Tom, and the police chief. And I think this is a good time to let Javier to explain why this is really important for us.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Javier.
Esteemed City Council members, esteemed President Kanev, Vice President Rist, Police Chief Alberti. First, thank you so much, and Mayor Chappelle, thank you so much for letting me speak on behalf of this. I know this is not the time where we're going to go deep into factual information. I only want to say two things. The first one, I'm extremely grateful that the Easthampton City Council is taking over this issue. We just came out of passing face surveillance ban in Springfield, probably one of the most diverse cities in the Commonwealth. We also had done it in Cambridge, Somerville, in Brookline. The ACLU has a piece of legislation right now as a state level. And as you may know, it's important right now for localities and municipalities to take a stand in issues that matter. Last year, one of the last time that I was in front of the City Council, we passed the Welcoming City Ordinance. And I remember that time Chief Alberti spoke on behalf of it. And I do see this as also as an extension of stating that Easthampton is a safe place for everybody and it's a welcoming city for everybody. Second, thanks to the interest from Councilman Gomez and Councilman Peak, face surveillance is dangerous. At this point, you should know that it is not either federal regulation or a state regulation in relation to face surveillance. Right now, it's extremely hard to know how different enforcement agencies are using it. They are not guidelines. They are not laws governing the use and the sharing of face surveillance material. And that's important for the City Council to make a statement, to recognize with non-biased studies like the MIT study that found out that this kind of technology has a success rate of 30% and tends to misidentify women of color and tends to identify as threatening men of color. So it's important. I'm grateful that the City Council is taking over this issue. You should know that the ACLU has all the material. If you need it, I would be more than glad to meet with every one of you to talk about this, to answer your questions. And for the, if you decide to send it to subcommittee, we will have our technology counsel, Emiliano Falcon, coming to talk to you about the legal ramifications of this and how positive this is to pass from the point of view not only as to show how safe it's a city, but also the level of liability that cities using face surveillance unregulated can run into it. And you should know I can send later my email address, my phone number. I'm available and open to meet with anybody in the City Council and anybody at the government.
Wonderful. Thank you, Javier. I really appreciate it. We're not going to we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to move it to committee. So, Councilor Peak, if you have a question related to something generic, go ahead. But otherwise, Wait. There you go.
I can wait.
Oh, it can wait? Is that what you said? Okay. Councilor Gomez, you want to make a motion?
Yeah. First, I want to say thank you to Javier for being here with us tonight and explain why this is really important for us. I just want to add a little bit more is with this new ordinance, it's just quick. I just want to say that we are no against the police. That's it. This is no against the police. Is the other way. I support, as a public safety chairman, I support the police 100%. It's not about against the police. I just want to make that clear now. After that, now I want to make a motion to move ban of recognition surveillance technology ordinance to public safety.
Second.
Motion and second to move the facial recognition surveillance item to public safety. Any further discussion on the motion? Barbara, I'll take a roll call vote.
Okay, first question, who seconded that?
Dan.
Dan, okay. All right, Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peake.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Motion passes unanimously to move that to public safety.
And
I
just encourage everybody to read the cover letter that we send, and I encourage everybody to participate this Wednesday because we're going to discuss that at our next meeting. And please, it's at 6:30. Please, if you have any question or concern, if you're not going to be there, please send me an email. I will make all the questions that you have to the experts, and that's conclude. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Gomez. Councilor Rist?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt Councilor Gomez when he mentioned the South Street intersection letter. I wanted to thank him especially and the Public Safety Committee for the work on that. It was my introduction to have it done, and I wanted to let the council know that when we are activists for some item, things get done. We got a stop sign there that is flashing lights. We got a review by the state DOT, and they in fact did a study at their own expense, and they did discover that indeed should have a light, and it may take a while before we get this light, a while, maybe 10 years, but that Department of Transportation study won't go away, and when the new school comes, we're going to see that study even more so being relevant. So I want to thank everybody and remind us all that when we want to be active about some subject, we can get something done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Rist. Anything else, Councilor Gomez? Appointments. Councilor Lynch.
Thank you. We did not meet. We had nothing on our agenda, so there is no report to make, but there is new business. We have 6 mayoral appointments that I would like to send to committee. So I will make a motion to send the 6 appointments on the agenda tonight to committee.
Second.
Oh, hang on one second, guys. Councilor Lynch, would you mind just reading off those, just the names in the committees?
Sure.
Just into the record.
Yep. I just got to find page 93. That's where it is. Hold on.
Sorry.
I want to say, Mayor, wasn't one of the appointees has withdrawn, is that correct?
Yes, yes, that's why I just, yeah.
Okay.
Which one is that?
Glenn Shaleen. Hope I'm pronouncing.
All right, so I will make a motion to send the following appointments to committee. Jamie Paquette for the Energy Advisory Committee, Brad Riley for Affordable and Fair Housing, Tracy Eller to the Easthampton City Arts, John Casey Douglas to ECA Grants Committee, and Jonathan Carroll to the Easthampton City Arts.
And I seconded.
Motion is second to move 5 mayoral appointments to the appointment committee. Any further discussion? Barbara?
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
J.P. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peake.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild. Owen Zaret.
Aye.
Motion to move 5 appointments to the appointment subcommittee passes unanimously. Any further, do you have another meeting scheduled, Councilman?
Yep, so our next meeting will be May 20th, 5 p.m. Via Zoom.
Okay. And we have ordinance, Councilor Derby. Oh, sorry.
Madam President.
Councilor Derby.
I'm gonna go kind of quick here because I keep getting a message that my internet is unstable. So if I cut out, that's why.
Sounds like a personal issue.
Yeah. We have not met since our last meeting, and I do need to do something that I thought I did at the last city council meeting, which was to make a motion to send the zoning amendment discussion, cannabis establishments and highway business to the planning board. And so I'd say that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second to move the zoning amendments, 2 items, cannabis residential setbacks and business zoning request. Those 2 items?
Just
No.
one.
Just
the one. Just the
HP's
highway business ones for now.
highway business one. Okay,
Yep.
I apologize.
No
Motion
problem.
to move the zoning amendment and the highway business zones to the planning board. Any discussion? All those in favor, Barbara?
Ed Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Homer Gomez.
Aye.
J.P. Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peake.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild. Owen Zaret.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam President. And we are going to hold off setting our next meeting until we coordinate with the planning board, because we are going to have a joint public hearing with them. And so our next meeting will be before the meeting with the planning board. So
Okay.
it looks like Councilor Zaret has something to say.
Always.
Just quickly, Chairperson Derby, do we need to send the plastics ordinance to the attorney, or what would you like to do with that?
I think that's one of the things that we can probably discuss at the next meeting. Just because I think before we make that motion, we're going to have to check in and see what budgets are and just make sure that we get the proper approval. But that's definitely on the radar.
Right.
Okay.
That concludes.
Thank you, Councilor Derby. Property, Councilor Zaret.
Just pulling up my notes here. We met on 4/16. We basically discussed our agenda item regarding inventory of city-owned property. It was mostly just a strategy and planning session to determine how we would proceed with discussing it. I received a map from Lori Stewart, as well as an Excel spreadsheet of currently vacant parcels that I need to look through and match those up with our GIS, and then I will set a meeting to discuss those further. I'm also going to reach out to Parks Director Mason regarding their next meeting in regards to the dog park discussion, just to find out when they may be potentially voting on our ability to consider that parcel as a site. So I'll reach out to him, President Coniff, and I'll get back to you as to when that might be happening, just to establish a timeline. And something I forgot to mention earlier, but it's definitely property related, is this is typically, in the absence of COVID-19, this last weekend we would have had City Cleanup Day that's run by the Nashwauk Pond Committee, and I believe that it's City Cleanup Month, and I encourage you all to get involved. I think on the Nashwauk Pond website you could find information. There's an app you could download called Literati, where you can geotag trash that you pick up throughout the city. So get out there with appropriate social distancing and mask wearing and clean up our city. And we don't have a current meeting yet. Oh, yes.
Before you close, I just wanted to ask on the just briefly back to the dog park. I know we had talked in prior meetings that it was something that we were probably going to hold off until we could get everybody in the room. My question is, are there any dates of grants or things like that that are at risk because we're pushing it out?
It's a rolling application for the Stanton grant. It starts yearly, so it's usually, first come, first serve every year, certainly with any foundation, and I'm sure this current economic climate may affect them. Obviously, it's kind of the sooner the better thing, but I think, again, in deference to the situation, I will certainly say on record that I think while it would be lovely to have this discussion, we have higher priorities and also the need for a public format right now. So the answer to your question is yes, sort of, but we're dealing with what we're dealing with, and as soon as we can get to it, and I'll certainly keep you informed of where we are.
Great.
I will. I'll let you know as soon as possible, and certainly I'll reach out to the members of the committee in regards to setting a meeting when appropriate. And thus concludes.
Thank you, Councillor Zarek. Moving on to Rules and Government Relations, Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay, so we met last week to discuss what we're going to do this year around charter review. It was a long conversation. I'll try and summarize it, and the other members might have some things that I missed, but the basis of it is that there's sort of two questions here when it comes to charter review. The first is about the fact that last year we had a charter review committee, which sent a couple things out in April or May for a legislative petition, but then kept working and had a lot of other things, more what we were calling housekeeping changes that we didn't anticipate would end up requiring approval from, they wouldn't be things that would probably have to go to the ballot. So we sent those items to the city solicitor to review, and then the charter review committee disbanded because under our charter they have a year to do their work. So we've got a bunch of feedback on these items from the solicitor, and there's a question about what we should do with them. So the two options that we looked at would be to either form a new charter review committee and have them look at it, or to have a special standing committee of the city council take that feedback, incorporate it, and turn it into something that the full council could look at. The general mood of the committee was that when it comes to these particular items, the work that the last committee did, that the most efficient thing that we could be doing would be to send those to rules, especially given that myself and Councillor Rest, are both rules members, were the chair and co-chair of the or vice chair, of that charter review committee. And of course, the rest of the council and the former members would be invited to participate. We could go through those items, and that would at least give us something that we could send on to the legislature. In terms of a charter review committee for this year and questions about what our obligations are and what is the most appropriate way to handle that in terms of timing and composition and whatever. Those are things that we're not done discussing, and I think that there's some interesting conversations to be had there. But for now, the mood of the committee was that we should be sending the solicitor's feedback to rules, which I believe Councillor Rist has introduced as an item of new business. So at this time, I'll turn this over to Councillor Rist if he has anything else to say as it comes to that sort of stuff.
Thank you, Councillor Peak. I believe your summary was very accurate. I will move that this draft document be sent to the Rules Committee, and I do hope that all the counselors can go whenever that meeting's scheduled. And I know Councilor Peak has reached out to the mayor, who would be involved with that discussion. It is efficient if the mayor is involved because, as you all know, she is an equal partner in whatever we decide to do with the charter, which is our Constitution. And once that's done, we send it to the legislature. So I want to thank you for that, Councilor Peak. And would you, I guess if you don't mind, I'll make a motion to send it to committee. I'll move that the draft document, charter review draft document, be sent to the Rules Committee for review. I need a second.
Second.
Motion is second to move the charter review draft document from 2019 to the Rules and Government Relations Committee. Any further comment, Councilor Kwasinski?
I would presume that by sending it to committee does not preclude our deciding to send this to a charter review committee to be established. Right. That we're just saying, let's first discuss it at the rules and go from there.
Yes. Councilor Rist?
I have to disagree with that, unfortunately, because I believe it would be a new committee reviewing another committee's work. I believe if we establish a new committee, it should be to do new work. But
hang
that's
on.
my opinion, but okay, we are sending it to the Rules Committee, and my hope is the Rules Committee will send it back to the full council for a vote on it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think JP or Councilor Kwasinski's question was that there will be an opportunity for further discussion once it gets to the Rules and Government Relations Committee. I don't think any decisions have been made at this point, and that is the point of moving it so that we can have those open and transparent conversations, I think.
Of course, thank you.
Councilor Peak?
Sure, just to weigh in on that. If we were to look at this and decide that, you know, as a committee or as a full council, that the scope of the work that needs to be done would be more appropriately handled by a committee, that's certainly an action that we could take. But at this time, just given what we're looking at, that I think that it's worth taking a shot at it in committee first and taking it from there.
Thank you.
I believe we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Barbara, could we have a roll call vote?
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Salem Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Nancy Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
Motion passes. And we have one other item on the agenda, which is the
I don't think he was done. Was Councilor Peak completed?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Councilor Peak. My bad.
For the most part, I was just going to say, you know, we have a couple other things that are in committee that we should be ready to move out pretty soon. Just working, mostly just making sure that the language is approved and gets to Barb, and also that we will be meeting. Hopefully, we're shooting for some time in the last week of this month to allow Councilor Rist and Councilor Coniff to focus their attention on the budget hearings in the coming couple of weeks. So we've been talking. We should have a meeting set in the next couple of days, and that concludes.
I was trying to get in there before you concluded, but I just want to make a point to the general public that one of the items on Rules and Government Relations is the proposal to consider a senior volunteer work-off program, and that issue has made it to establishing a committee, which we are forming, and we have one more slot for someone from the public to participate. So if anyone is interested in being on that committee to research and do some work on a senior volunteer work-off program, I just want to encourage them to please email me, and we can get a full complement of that committee and perhaps start working on that this summer. And I think the only other thing we had on here was the Ranked Choice Voting Committee, Councilor Peak, and I don't know if they've met and or if there's anything to report.
We actually did meet, but I'm also thinking, I'm just looking at this right now. I'm sorry I concluded, but do we need to actually do a 90-day extension on that volunteer work-off program?
We do.
Yeah, and just so you know, the discussion that we had is that until that committee returns its report, that's just going to sit in rules as an agenda item, but we're not, until the committee comes back to us, we're not really going to be discussing it a whole lot. So I'll request a 90-day extension on that.
Second.
Motion is second for a 90-day extension on the senior tax work-off program. Any further discussion? Barbara?
Peg Coniff.
Aye.
Dylan Derby.
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
Aye.
JP Kaczynski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peake.
Aye.
Ian Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zaret.
Yes.
As far as the ranked choice voting committee, we did meet, and we actually had a really great conversation with our vendor for the voting machines, who has worked with other communities to set up ranked choice voting. They're actually working with Amherst right now. They've helped to administer Cambridge's, which are, we learned, a lot more chaotic than what we are attempting. But that looked really positive. There were some ongoing discussions to be had, but I thought it was a really productive meeting.
And Councillor Peake, the timeline for this is the November 2021 election, local election.
Yep. That's the other thing, is that one of the big things that the committee will be charged with is coming up with a budget, like what this is going to cost to implement for that election. And we did speak to the vendor, and the numbers were the numbers that we were talking about. They were in line with the numbers that we were talking about during the push up to the ballot measure on this. So there hasn't been any real changes in what we're sort of expecting the expenses to be at this time.
Great, thank you. And before we close or take a motion to adjourn, Barbara, we either all have the same idea or not, but I wanted to ask you to speak to the election.
Yes, that's actually what I wanted to talk about.
Two great minds.
Okay, so yes, we are still having our election for the state senate. Oh, am I muted? Vacant on Tuesday, May 19th. The polls will be open as usual in the usual locations from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. But anybody that wants to request an early vote ballot has plenty of time to do so. If they go onto our website, easthamptonma.gov, under news and updates, they can find all the information, including the application. Now, we've had a lot of questions from people, that can't print, or, there's issues. So I just want to say that you don't have to use the application. You can write out just a simple little letter, but it needs to be signed. And I'm getting a lot of emails that have electronic signatures or just typed names. That's not good enough. The state law does not allow that. So no matter what, a request has to be in writing, and it must be signed. It can be scanned and emailed to me, or it can be put in the drop box at 50 Payson Avenue, which we are emptying every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Sometimes large envelopes get in the box and they jam it up. I have not seen it ever totally full. So I just want to clarify that. But if by email, by mail, by Dropbox, get it to us. We're working on them every day and getting them out as fast as possible. Another question that keeps coming up is, yes, they can be dropped off in the Dropbox. That is totally fine. One other thing I want to mention is that on Election Day, and maybe Bob knows about this, it sounds as if the main driveway to Whitebrook Middle School will not be accessible. It's looking like voters are going to have to go down Button Road to get to Whitebrook Middle School. We'll be working with the police department and the highway department and the school department everybody to get appropriate signage. And we also are working very hard to make sure that the voting location is safe for everybody. We're going to have hand sanitizer, sneeze guards, gloves, masks, everything. So we're going to do the best we can. It's a difficult time to have an election, but with early voting and appropriate safety precautions, I think we'll be okay. And 2 weeks from now, it will be over with.
And you'll be very happy, won't you, Barb? Councillor Rothschild, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I just want to clarify in terms of the simple note, what information needs to be on that simple note?
Okay, all people have to do is they can say, my name is, I live at, please send me an absentee ballot or an early vote ballot for the May 19th election and make sure it's signed.
Okay, and you said scan, so I assume that they could also just take a picture with their phone and send that to you?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. And that would be emailed to cityclerk@easthamptonma.gov.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question, Councillor Rothschild. I hadn't even thought of writing it out and then taking a picture of it. I didn't even know that was an option, so that's great. Councillor Peak?
Just to clarify, does every member of a household need to separately compose a note?
Well, I have to say that it's easier for my office if everybody writes their own note. If you write one note and you sign them both, as long as everybody signs, that works. It's easier for me if there's two notes.
All right, so great.
Anything else?
Nope.
Oh, Councillor Kwasinski, go ahead.
A quick practical question. I know you discussed masks, having them available. Maybe you could discuss that a little bit more so any public who is unable, and I can't imagine why many people would need to vote in public, in person at this time, but if somebody did, what would be the requirement?
So yes, we're going to ask that everybody that comes to the polling place does have a mask. If by chance they forgot it or they don't have one, we have gotten a donation. The health department is helping us. We've probably got about 150 masks. We will have limited supplies, not for everybody, but if by chance you get there and you realize you left it on the counter at home, which I've done, we will have some masks that are available for the public, yes.
Thank you for your hard work on all this.
Sure. Yes, thank you, Barbara. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn. Barbara, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Peg Coniff, Salem Derby.
Yes.
Homer Gomez.
Yes.
Jay Krasinski.
Aye.
Bill Lynch.
Yes.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Dan Rist.
Aye.
Lindsay Rothschild.
Aye.
Owen Zarrett.
Yes.
Okay, one thing I want to note, if I can make one last comment, you're all going to be getting something from me like in the next couple of days. Please remember to sign it and get it back to me. Thank you.
And Barbara, I'll be talking to you tomorrow about finance.
Okay.
I've lost control of this meeting. The meeting is now adjourned. Goodbye, everyone.
Aye.
Bye.
Bye.